I never thought I'd be the kind of mother who'd have to choose between sending her own daughter to prison or drowning in debt. But here I am, sitting at my kitchen table at 2 a.m, staring at a credit card statement with my name on it, a card I never applied for purchases I never made. My name is Anne, and I'm 53 years old. I've been a bental titanist for 28 years. I've lived in the same modest 3-bedroom house in Sacramento for 2 decades. I drive a 12-year-old Honda Civic. I clip coupons. I buy store-brand cereal. I am not, by any stretch of the imagination, living beyond my means. So when I opened that envelope 3 months ago, the one that had been sitting in my mailbox, half hidden under a grocery store flyer, I thought it was a mistake. Capital One, it said. Statement for account ending in 4729. Minimum payment due, $843. I actually laughed. I remember that. I stood there in my kitchen, still wearing my scrubs from work, my feet aching, and I laughed because obviously someone at Capital One had made an error. I don't have a Capital One card. I have exactly 2 credit cards, a Visa I've had since I was 25, and a MasterCard I use for emergencies. Both are paid off every month. Both live in my wallet, where they've always been. I set the statement on the counter, planning to call them in the morning to sort it out. Honest mistake. These things happen. But something made me open it. Maybe it was the fact my name was spelled correctly. Anne Marie Garrison, middle name and all. Maybe it was because the address was right. Or maybe it was just that nagging feeling you get when something is off, the way you know before you even check that you've left the stove on. I unfolded the pages, 3 of them, single-spaced, line after line after line of charges. Revolve, $612. Sephora, $398. Zara, $451. Uber Eats, $67. Uber Eats again, $53. Uber Eats a third time, $41. The charges went on and on and on. Fashion Nova, Ulta, another Sephora, Nordstrom, someplace called Princess Polly, a boutique in Los Angeles I'd never heard of, a subscription to something called Look Fantastic, another subscription to BoxyCharm, a third subscription to Ipsy. Page after page after page. I sat down hard in one of my kitchen chairs, the vinyl creaking under my weight. My hands were shaking. The total balance, printed in bold at the top of the first page, was $22,473. $22,000. I couldn't breathe. I actually could not get air into my lungs for what felt like a full minute. When I finally could, the sound that came out was something between a gasp and a sob. Who would do this? How could someone do this? My mind immediately went to identity theft. Some criminal ring, some hacker who'd gotten my social security number and my mother's maiden name, and was right now, at this very moment, opening more accounts in my name, ruining my credit, destroying everything I'd spent my entire adult life building. I grabbed my laptop with trembling hands and logged into my credit monitoring service, the one I pay $9 a month for, the one that's supposed to alert me the second anything suspicious happens. Nothing. No alerts. No warnings. I refreshed the page. Still nothing. How is that possible? How could someone open a credit card in my name without my credit monitoring service catching it? Unless they hadn't just stolen my identity, unless they'd had access to everything, my social security number, my date of birth, my mother's maiden name, my previous addresses, all those security questions that are supposed to keep you safe. What was the name of your first pet? What street did you grow up on? What was your high school mascot? All of it. There's only a handful of people in the world who would know all of that information. And that's when I saw it, buried in the middle of page 2, a charge that made my blood run cold. Gracie's Glow Studio, $120, Los Angeles, California. Gracie's Glow Studio. Gracie. My daughter's name is Grace. She goes by Gracie. And 6 months ago, she told me she was working at a beauty studio in Los Angeles. She'd sent me a photo of herself standing in front of a sign, wearing a black apron, holding a makeup brush, beaming at the camera. "Look, Mom, my first real job in my field," she texted. A string of excited emojis had followed. Stars and hearts and the little party popper. I'd been so proud. I stared at that charge, $120 at Gracie's Glow Studio. There had to be an explanation. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe there were dozens of places in Los Angeles with Gracie in the name. Maybe this had nothing to do with my daughter at all. But I knew. Even then, even in that moment when I was still trying to convince myself it wasn't true, I knew. I scrolled back up to the top of the statement, to the account details. There was a phone number listed for customer service, available 24 hours. My hands were still shaking as I dialed. The automated system answered immediately, cheerful, efficient, completely unaware that my entire world was crumbling. "Thank you for calling Capital One. If you know your party's extension, you may dial it at any time. To continue in English, press 1. I pressed 1. "Please enter or say your account number." I read the numbers from the statement, my voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you. For security purposes, please enter or say the last 4 digits of your social security number." I entered them. "Thank you, Anne. I verified your identity. How can I help you today?" You can say things like check my balance, make a payment, or speak to a representative. Speak to a representative. "I'd be happy to connect you with a specialist. Can you briefly tell me what you're calling about today?" I didn't open this account. "I understand you have questions about your account. Please hold while I connect you with a fraud specialist. This call may be recorded for quality assurance." The hold music was jazz, soft, tinkling piano, completely incongruous with the panic rising in my chest. A man's voice came on the line. "Good evening. This is Marcus with Capital One Fraud Prevention. I understand you have some concerns about your account. How can I help you tonight?" I didn't open this account. The words came out in a rush. "I just got a statement in the mail, and I've never seen this card before. I never applied for it. I didn't authorize any of these charges." "I'm so sorry you're dealing with this, Anne. I'm going to help you get this sorted out. Let me pull up your account." I heard typing in the background. "Okay, I'm looking at the account now. It was opened 7 months ago, on March 15th. Does that date mean anything to you?" March 15th. I tried to think. What had been happening in March? It was around the time Gracie had moved to Los Angeles. She'd been staying with me for a few weeks before that, sleeping on the couch, saving money, getting ready for the big move. "No," I said. "Nothing." The application was submitted online. It looks like it was approved instantly. Excellent credit score, stable employment history. Everything checked out. But I didn't apply for it. "I understand. We're going to treat this as identity theft. I need to ask you a few more questions. Have you noticed any other suspicious activity? Any other accounts opened in your name?" "I don't know. I just found out about this 20 minutes ago." "I understand. Do you have any idea who might have had access to your personal information?" That question hung in the air. Did I have any idea? Yes. Yes, I had an idea. But saying it out loud felt like stepping off a cliff. "I'm not sure," I said. "That's okay. What I'm going to do is flag this account for fraud investigation. We'll launch a formal inquiry and we'll get this resolved for you. In the meantime, I'm going to cancel this card immediately so no more charges can be made. You won't be responsible for any fraudulent charges. We'll work with you on that. But I do need to let you know that we will need to file a police report as part of our investigation. Is that something you're comfortable with?" A police report. My stomach twisted. Do I have to? For our fraud investigation, yes. It's standard procedure.
We need documentation that you're reporting this as identity theft. You can file the report with your local police department, and then you'll just need to send us a copy of the report number. Okay, I whispered.
I know this is stressful, Anne. Identity theft is a serious crime, and we take it very seriously. You're going to get through this. We're going to help you. I'm sending a fraud packet to your email address on file. Is that still agarrison73@gmail.com? Yes. Perfect. You should receive that within the next few minutes. It'll have all the information you need about next steps, including how to file the police report and how to submit your documentation to us. Do you have any other questions for me right now? I had 1,000 questions, but none of them were ones he could answer. No, I said. All right. Again, I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. We're going to get it sorted out. Is there anything else I can help you with tonight? No, thank you. You're welcome. You take care, Anne. He disconnected. I sat there in my kitchen, holding my phone, staring at nothing. The clock on my microwave said it was 11:47. In 13 minutes, it would be a new day. Everything would still be just as terrible, but it would be a new day. I should call Gracie, I thought. I should call her right now and ask her what's going on. There has to be an explanation. Maybe someone stole her identity too. Maybe there's a whole ring of criminals using both of our names. Maybe that charge at Gracie's glow studio was a coincidence after all. But I didn't call her because somewhere in the part of my mind I didn't want to acknowledge, I already knew what had happened. I just wasn't ready to face it yet. Instead, I went to my bedroom, got my laptop, and opened my credit report. All 3 bureaus, Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. I went through each one, line by line, looking for anything else I didn't recognize. And I found it. Not just the Capital One card. That was just the beginning. Just the tip of the iceberg. Just the first crack in a dam that was about to break wide open. There was a Discover card, opened in April. Balance and $643. There was a Bank of America card, opened in June. Balance $12,307. There was an American Express card, opened in July. Balance $9,812. 5 credit cards. 5 cards I'd never applied for, never seen, never held in my hands. Total balance $79,156. I thought the $22,000 was the end of it. I didn't realize it was just the beginning of how much my daughter had actually stolen. I'm not sure how long I sat there, staring at those numbers on my screen. It could have been 10 minutes. It could have been an hour. Time had stopped meaning anything. $79,000. I make $53,000 a year as a dental hygienist, before taxes. I've been saving for retirement for 3 decades, socking away 10% of every paycheck into my 401k. I brown bag my lunch 4 days a week. I haven't bought a new piece of furniture in 8 years. I get my hair cut at the beauty school where it costs $12 instead of $60. And my daughter, my 24-year-old daughter, who I'd sacrificed everything for, who I'd raised alone after her father walked out when she was 2, who I'd put through community college and supported while she found herself and figured out her passion, had stolen $79,000 from me. The thing is, I wasn't even completely surprised, and that might be the worst part of all. Gracie had always been beautiful, striking, really, with her father's dark hair and my green eyes and this perfect heart-shaped face that people had been complimenting since she was a baby. Everywhere we went, people noticed her. She should be a model, they'd say. She could be in magazines. And Gracie had believed them. By the time she was 16, she was spending hours every day taking selfies, perfecting her makeup, curating her Instagram feed. She'd gotten into beauty content,
makeup tutorials, product reviews, get ready with me videos. She was good at it, I'll give her that. She had an eye for aesthetics, a natural charisma on camera, but it never quite took off the way she wanted. She'd get a few hundred likes, maybe 1,000 if she was lucky, but never the tens of thousands, never the sponsorships, never the big break she was convinced was just around the corner.
After high school, she'd enrolled in community college. My idea, not hers, and majored in communications. She'd lasted 3 semesters before dropping out. "I'm wasting time, Mom," she told me. "I'm learning more from YouTube than I ever could in a classroom. I need to focus on building my brand." Her brand. She talked about it constantly. Her brand, her platform, her engagement rate, her follower count. She'd lie on my couch for hours, scrolling through other influencers' pages, analyzing what they were doing right. "Look at her, Mom. She's got 300,000 followers. Do you know how much money she probably makes? I'm just as pretty as her. I'm just as talented. I just need the right opportunity." I tried to be supportive. I really had. But there was always this nagging voice in the back of my head asking, when is she going to get a real job? When is she going to move out? When is she going to start taking responsibility for her own life? Then 6 months ago, she'd announced she was moving to Los Angeles. "I'm serious this time, Nom," she'd said. "I've been doing research. LA is where I need to be. That's where all the influencers are, where all the opportunities are. I can't make it happen from Sacramento." "How are you going to afford it?" I'd asked. "Do you have a job lined up?" "I'm working on it. I've got some applications out. And I've been saving." That had surprised me. Gracie had never been good with money. Anytime she got any, birthday gifts from my parents, the occasional babysitting gig, it would be gone within days. New makeup, new clothes, expensive coffee drinks. "You've been saving?" I'd asked skeptically. "Yes, Mom, I've been saving. God, why don't you ever believe in me?" And I'd felt guilty, the way she always made me feel guilty. Like I was the bad guy for being practical, for questioning, for worrying. "I do believe in you, honey," I'd said. "I just want to make sure you're prepared. LA is expensive." "I know it's expensive. I'm not stupid. I've got it figured out." And apparently she had, just not the way I thought. The morning after I found the credit card statements, I called in sick to work. I never call in sick. In 28 years, I've used maybe a dozen sick days. But I couldn't go in. I couldn't sit in someone's mouth, scraping away plaque, making small talk about weekend plans, pretending everything was fine. I spent the morning on the phone with the credit card companies, all 5 of them. Same story, different representatives. "Yes, this account is in your name. Yes, we'll open a fraud investigation. Yes, you'll need to file a police report. No, you won't be responsible for the fraudulent charges." That last part should have been reassuring. But the thing was, I was starting to realize it wasn't that simple. Because the representatives kept saying things like, "We'll need to determine if this was truly fraud or if someone you know had authorized access to your information. And if we find that you knowingly gave someone permission to use your identity, that changes the situation significantly. And we'll need to investigate whether you received any benefit from these purchases." I hadn't given Gracie permission. I'd never told her she could open credit cards in my name. But had I been careless with my information? Had I left documents lying around? Had I written down passwords, social security numbers, account information in places where she could find them? I tried to remember. When she'd been staying with me, had I been careful? I kept my important papers in a filing cabinet in my bedroom closet. But was it locked? I didn't think so. Did it even have a lock? And my mail. I'd always just tossed it on the kitchen counter when I got home from work. Bills, statements, credit card offers, all of it just sitting there for days sometimes before I'd sort through it. Had she gone through my mail? Of course she had. I knew she had. I just hadn't let myself acknowledge it at the time. At 1 p.m, I finally called her. She answered on the 4th ring, her voice bright and cheerful. "Hey, Mom, what's up?"
Just hearing her voice made my chest ache. My little girl, my baby, the person I'd loved more than anyone else in the world for 24 years. Gracie, I said, I need to talk to you about something. Her tone immediately shifted. She'd always been able to read me. What's wrong? Are you okay? I got some credit card statements in the mail yesterday. Silence. Just for a beat. Just for a fraction of a second. But I heard it. Okay, she said slowly.
Credit cards I didn't open, with my name on them, with tens of thousands of dollars in charges. More silence. Longer this time. Gracie? Mom, her voice cracked. I can explain. And there it was. Confirmation. Not that I'd needed it, really, but hearing her say it, hearing that guilt in her voice, made it real in a way it hadn't been before. You opened credit cards in my name. Mom, please, just let me explain. It's not what you think. It's not what I think? What is it then, Gracie? Because what I think is that you committed identity theft. What I think is that you stole from me. I didn't steal from you. Her voice rose, defensive. I was going to pay it all back, every penny. I just needed to get established first. I just needed to build my following, get some sponsorships going, start making real money. And then I was going to pay everything back and you never have even known. I closed my eyes. How was I never gonna know, Gracie? When the bills came? When my credit was destroyed? When debt collectors started calling? I had it under control. I was intercepting the statements. I was making the minimum payments. I had a whole system. You had a system. I repeated the words flatly. For stealing from your own mother. Don't say it like that. She was crying now. I could hear it in her voice. You make it sound so terrible. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. It got out of hand. I thought I'd be making money by now. I thought the sponsorships would come through. You thought you could play influencer with my credit, I said. You thought you could buy designer clothes and expensive makeup and God knows what else, all on my dime, and somehow that would magically turn into a career? That's not fair. Do you have any idea how much it costs to be an influencer? The equipment, the lighting, the clothes, the makeup. You have to spend money to make money, Mom. You have to look the part. Nobody's going to sponsor someone who looks cheap. So you made me pay for it? I didn't make you pay for anything. You're not paying for it. The credit card companies are. I actually laughed. A harsh, bitter sound. That's not how this works, Gracie. Someone has to pay. And right now, all of those charges are in my name. But you said yourself, it's fraud. You can just report it as fraud and they'll write it off. I can report it as fraud, I said slowly. But do you know what happens then? They investigate. And do you know what they find? That the person who opened those cards had access to all of my personal information. That the person who opened those cards knew my social security number, my mother's maiden name, my date of birth, every security answer. That the person who opened those cards was living in my house when they were opened. And when they find all of that, I continued, they're going to ask me if I know who did it, and I'm going to have to answer. And when I tell them it was you, do you know what happens then? Mom. It's a crime, Gracie. Identity theft is a federal crime. You could go to prison. You wouldn't. Her voice was small now, frightened. You wouldn't send me to prison. This is hard. I don't want to send you to prison. The words burst out of me, loud enough that I was glad I didn't have neighbors close by. I don't want any of this, but you've put me in an impossible position. If I report it as fraud, you get arrested. If I don't report it as fraud, then I'm responsible for $79,000 in debt. $79,000, Gracie. Do you have any idea what that means? That's more than I make in a year. That's more than I have in my retirement account.
That could destroy my entire life. She was sobbing now, full, gasping sobs. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. I'll fix it. I promise I'll fix it. Just please don't report it, please. I'll get a job. I'll work 3 jobs. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll pay you back every cent. Please, Mom, please don't send me to jail. I thought the $79,000 was the worst of it. I didn't realize I was about to have to choose between my daughter's freedom and my own financial survival. 3 months ago. 3 months of hell. 3 months of trying to figure out what to do. 3 months of lying awake at night, running through scenarios, trying to find a solution that didn't end with either my daughter in prison or me in bankruptcy. I didn't report it as fraud. I couldn't. Every time I picked up the phone to call the police, I'd picture Gracie in a courtroom, in handcuffs, being sentenced. My baby. I couldn't do it, but I also couldn't pay it, even if I drained my retirement account, which would mean taxes, penalties, and losing everything I'd saved for my future. It wouldn't be enough. And the credit card companies weren't going to just let it go. The minimum payments alone were more than my mortgage.
I hired a lawyer. Or rather, I had a consultation with a lawyer, which cost me $300 I didn't have. He told me what I already knew. If I claimed fraud, Gracie could be prosecuted. If I didn't claim fraud, I was legally responsible for the debt. My options were bankruptcy or somehow coming up with $79,000. What about payment plans, I'd asked. What if I just pay a little bit every month? With the interest rates on these cards, he'd said, looking at me with something like pity, you'd be paying for the rest of your life and barely making a dent in the principal. You're looking at 15, maybe 18% interest on most of these. That's nearly $1,000 a month in interest alone. I thanked him and left, feeling more hopeless than when I'd arrived. Gracie, for her part, had promised over and over that she'd make it right. She'd gotten a job, a real one, waitressing at a restaurant in West Hollywood. She was sending me money every week. $100 here, $200 there. It was something. It was better than nothing. But it was a drop in the ocean. At the rate she was going, it would take her 30 years to pay off what she'd stolen. And meanwhile, the credit card companies were calling. Not the friendly fraud departments anymore. Those investigations had been ongoing for weeks, going nowhere. Now it was collections departments, increasingly aggressive voices demanding payment, threatening legal action. My credit score had plummeted, 783, down to 502 in a matter of months. 53 years old, with credit so bad I wouldn't be able to rent an apartment if I needed to. I'd started having panic attacks, real ones, the kind where I couldn't breathe, where my vision narrowed to a tunnel, where I thought I was dying. The first time it happened, I'd been at work, my hands in a patient's mouth, and I'd had to excuse myself, stumble to the bathroom, and sit on the floor until it passed. My dentist, my boss, Dr. Patterson, had pulled me aside afterward. Anne, are you okay? This isn't like you. I'd wanted to tell him. I'd wanted to break down and explain everything, but I couldn't. The shame was too much. How do you tell someone that your own daughter stole your identity, that you were stupid enough, careless enough to let it happen? So I'd lied. I'm fine, just a little stressed, personal stuff. I'm handling it. But I wasn't handling it. I was drowning. And then, 2 weeks ago, something shifted. I got a message from Gracie. Not a text, an email. That should have been my first clue that something was different. Gracie never emailed. Everything was texts, Instagram DMs, Snapchat. But this was an email. Subject line, Mom, please read this. I opened it. Mom, I know I've said I'm sorry a million times, and I know sorry isn't enough. I know I've completely destroyed your trust and maybe destroyed our relationship forever. I know I've ruined your life, but I think I figured out a way to fix it. There's someone I've been seeing. His name is Marcus. He's older, 47, and he's really successful.
He owns a tech company. He's amazing, Mom. Smart and generous, and he really truly cares about me. I told him everything. I told him what I did to you and how terrible I feel and how I don't know how to make it right. And he wants to help. He's offered to pay off the credit cards. All of them. Every penny. I know what you're thinking, but it's not like that. He's not some creep. He's a good person. He just wants to help me fix my mistake because he cares about me. There's just one thing. He wants to meet you first. He wants to make sure you're real, that this whole situation is real. He says he's been scammed before by women making up sob stories, and he's not going to hand over that kind of money without verification. So can you please come to LA, just for one day, just to meet him and talk to him, and then he'll pay everything off and this nightmare will be over. Please, Mom, this is our chance to fix everything. Love, Gracie. I read the email 3 times. My first reaction was relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. Someone was going to pay off the debt. This nightmare was going to end. My second reaction, which came about 30 seconds later, was suspicion.
Hard. Who was this man? Why would he pay off $79,000 in debt for a woman he was dating? What did he want in return? And my third reaction, which I tried to push away but couldn't quite manage, was shame. Shame that I was even considering this. Shame that I was so desperate, so financially ruined that I was actually thinking about letting some stranger pay my daughter's debt. But I was desperate, and I was ruined, and what choice did I have? I emailed Gracie back. Tell me more about this man. Her response came within minutes. Pages of text about Marcus, how they'd met at a networking event, how he'd been immediately taken with her, how he'd been so supportive of her influencer dreams, so understanding about her past mistakes, how he'd taken her to nice dinners, bought her thoughtful gifts, treated her like a princess.
He's not like other guys I've dated, she wrote. He's mature, he's stable, he's not intimidated by my ambition. He actually believes in me, Mom, and he wants to help us. The more I read, the more uneasy I felt. Something about it didn't add up. Men didn't just hand over nearly $80,000 to women they'd been dating for a few weeks. There had to be more to the story. But then again, did it matter? If he was willing to pay, if he wanted to pay, who was I to question it? I agreed to meet him. Gracie sent me the details. A restaurant in Santa Monica, next Saturday at 2 in the afternoon. Nice, but not too fancy. Bring the credit card statements, she wrote. He wants to see the actual totals. The week before the meeting crawled by. I barely slept. I kept playing out scenarios in my head. What if he was real? What if he really did pay off the cards? What if this nightmare actually ended?
But what if it was some kind of trap? What if he was a con artist himself? What if I showed up and something terrible happened? I told myself I was being paranoid. Gracie wouldn't put me in danger. Whatever mistake she'd made, whatever she'd done, she wouldn't actually hurt me. Would she? Saturday morning, I dove to Los Angeles. 3 hours down I-5, my stomach in knots the entire way. I had put the credit card statements in a folder in my purse. All 5 of them. Updated balances, now totaling $82,739 with the accumulated interest. The restaurant was in a trendy part of Santa Monica. All exposed brick and Edison bulbs and a menu full of things like artisanal grain bowls and locally sourced charcuterie. Not the kind of place I'd ever choose on my own. I was early. I sat in my car in the parking lot, trying to calm my breathing, trying to prepare myself for whatever was about to happen. At 1:58, I walked in.
Gracie was already there, sitting at a table near the window. She saw me and waved, a nervous smile on her face. There was a man sitting across from her. Tall, dark hair starting to gray at the temples, expensive-looking suit. Marcus, presumably. I walked over, my legs feeling like they might give out at any moment. "Mom!" Gracie stood up and hugged me. She smelled like expensive perfume. "I'm so glad you came. Mom, this is Marcus. Marcus, this is my mom, Anne." Marcus stood and extended his hand. "Anne, it's a pleasure to meet you. Gracie's told me so much about you." His handshake was firm. His smile was pleasant. Everything about him seemed normal, professional, safe. We sat down. A waiter appeared immediately, took our drink orders. I asked for water. My mouth was too dry for anything else.
"So," Marcus said once the waiter left, "Gracie's told me about the situation. I want you to know, first of all, how sorry I am that you're going through this. What happened to you, what Gracie did, it's not okay, but we all make mistakes. And I believe in second chances." I nodded, not trusting my voice. "I care about your daughter very much," he continued. "I see a future with her, and I can't build that future knowing that she's carrying this burden, that you're carrying this burden. So I'd like to help." "That's very generous," I managed to say, "but I have to ask, why? Why would you do this?" He smiled. "That's a fair question. The honest answer is because I can. I've been very fortunate in my life. I've built a successful business. I have more money than I know what to do with. And what's the point of having it if I can't use it to help the people I care about?" It sounded too good to be true. It sounded like a fairy tale. It sounded like a scam. But I wanted so badly to believe it.
"Did you bring the statements?" Marcus asked. I pulled the folder from my purse and handed it to him. He opened it, spent several minutes reviewing each statement carefully, making notes on his phone. "Okay," he said finally. $82,739. I can work with that." I felt tears prick at my eyes. I don't know what to say. "You don't have to say anything. But I do need to ask, have you reported this as fraud? Are there any legal proceedings ongoing?" "No," I said. "I haven't reported it. I couldn't. Gracie's my daughter. I couldn't send her to jail." He nodded, seeming satisfied. "Good. That makes things much simpler. Here's what I propose. I'll pay off all 5 cards in full. We'll get you completely out of debt. In return, I need you to sign a statement saying that you authorized Gracie to use your credit, that this wasn't fraud. That protects all of us legally, protects you from any accusation that you knowingly committed fraud, protects Gracie from prosecution, and protects me from being accused of being part of a fraud scheme." Something in my chest went cold. A statement saying I authorized it? Yes. Just a simple document saying that Gracie had your permission to open the accounts and make the purchases. It's purely for legal protection. Once you sign it, I'll wire the money to the credit card companies, and this whole thing will be over. I looked at Gracie. She was staring at the table, her face pale. "But she didn't have my permission," I said slowly. "I understand," Marcus said smoothly, "but legally it's cleaner if we say she did. Otherwise, if this ever came up, if a credit card company ever investigated, there could be questions. This way, everything's clear. You authorized it, I paid it off, everyone moves on." "But if I signed something saying I authorized it," I said, "then I'm lying. I'm committing fraud myself." "You are protecting your family," Marcus corrected. "You are doing what you need to do to move forward." I looked at Gracie again. She still wouldn't meet my eyes. And suddenly, everything clicked into place. This wasn't a generous boyfriend wanting to help. This was a transaction. Marcus was going to pay off the debt, yes, but in exchange, I was going to sign a legal document taking full responsibility for it. A document that said I'd authorized Gracie to open the cards, that I'd been complicit from the beginning. A document that would protect Gracie from any legal consequences,
while simultaneously making it impossible for me to ever report what she'd really done. I thought this meeting was going to solve everything. I didn't realize it was a trap designed to make me complicit in my own daughter's crime. "No," I said. Gracie's head snapped up. "What?" "No," I repeated, louder this time. "I'm not signing anything that says I authorized this, because I didn't." Marcus's pleasant expression didn't change. "Anne, I understand you're emotional, but let's think about this rationally. You're $82,000 in debt. Your credit is destroyed. You're facing bankruptcy. I'm offering you a way out. A way out that requires me to lie and say I committed fraud. A way out that resolves the situation for everyone involved." Everyone except me. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. People at nearby tables turned to look. "You're not trying to help me. You're trying to buy my silence. You're trying to make sure Gracie never faces consequences for what she did." "Mom, please." Gracie reached for my arm. I pulled away. "Did you know?" I asked her. "Did you know this was his plan? That he was going to ask me to sign away any chance of holding you accountable?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The guilt on her face said everything. "I need to leave," I said. I grabbed my purse, my hands shaking so hard I almost dropped it. "Anne, wait." Marcus's voice had lost its smooth, pleasant tone. Now it was cold. "You should think very carefully about what you're doing, because if you walk out of here, you're still $82,000 in debt, and that's not going away." "I know," I said, "but at least I'll still have my integrity." I walked out of that restaurant, got in my car, and drove. I didn't head back to Sacramento. I couldn't. I was shaking too hard, crying too hard. I pulled into a parking lot a few blocks away and just sat there, gripping my steering wheel, trying to breathe. My phone started ringing. Gracie. I didn't answer. It rang again, and again, and again. Finally, I turned it off. I sat in that parking lot for 2 hours, watching the sun move across the sky, watching people walk by with their shopping bags and their coffee cups and their normal, uncomplicated lives. And I made a decision. I drove to the Santa Monica Police Department. The officer at the front desk was young, maybe 25. When I told him I needed to report identity theft, he handed me a form and pointed me to a waiting area. I filled out the form. Name, address, phone number, description of the crime. I wrote it all down, my hands surprisingly steady now that I'd made the choice. When I finished, I handed it back to the officer. "The person who did this," I said, "is my daughter." He looked up at me, his expression shifting from bored routine to something more careful. "Your daughter?" "Yes. Her name is Grace Garrison. She's 24 years old. She lives in Los Angeles, and she opened 5 credit cards in my name without my permission and ran up over $80,000 in debt." "Ma'am," he said slowly, "you understand that if we investigate this and find evidence that your daughter committed identity theft, she could be arrested and charged with a felony?" "I understand. And you're sure you want to move forward with this?" I thought about Gracie as a little girl, the way she'd curl up next to me on the couch to watch movies, the way she'd hold my hand when we crossed the street, the way she'd tell me I was the best mom in the world. I thought about Gracie as a teenager. The eye rolls, the slammed doors, the certainty that I didn't understand her, could never understand her. I thought about Gracie as an adult, the entitlement, the excuses, the complete inability to take responsibility for her own choices. And I thought about myself, 53 years old, tens of thousands of dollars in debt for purchases I never made, my credit destroyed, my retirement savings at risk. my future in jeopardy, because of the daughter I'd loved and sacrificed for, and protected for her entire life. Yes, I said. I'm sure. The officer nodded. Okay, let me get a detective to come talk to you. That was 6 weeks ago. The investigation moved faster than I expected. The detectives had the credit card statements. They had the application information, which included IP addresses that traced back to my home during the time Gracie was living with me. They had evidence of her intercepting mail, making payments from her own bank account.
They arrested her 3 weeks ago. She called me from jail. I didn't answer. She called again and again. Finally, I blocked her number. She got a public defender. The lawyer called me, asked if I'd be willing to testify against my own daughter if it went to trial. I said yes. The lawyer called back 2 days later. Gracie was taking a plea deal. 5 years probation, restitution of the full amount of the debt, and a permanent felony conviction on her record. She'll avoid jail time, the lawyer said, but she'll be paying this back for a long time. I thanked her and hung up. The credit card companies have started the process of writing off the debt. It's not instant. There's paperwork, investigations, bureaucracy, but I'm not going to be held responsible for it. My credit report now shows the accounts as fraud. It'll take time for my credit score to recover, but it will recover.
I'm not going to lose my retirement. I'm not going to lose my house. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life paying for my daughter's mistakes. But I have lost my daughter. She sent me a letter last week. It came to my house, in her handwriting, no return address. I almost threw it away without opening it, but I couldn't. Mom, it said, I know you probably hate me now. I know I've ruined everything, but I need you to know that I never meant to hurt you. I really thought I was going to pay it all back. I really believed I could make it work. I know that's not an excuse. I know what I did was terrible. I know I deserve everything that's happened to me. But you're my mom. You're the only family I have, and I don't know how to live in a world where you're not in my life. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Please. Love always, Gracie. I've read that letter 12 times, and every time, I cry.
Because the truth is, I don't hate her. I wish I did. It would be so much easier if I hated her. But I love her. I'll always love her. She's my daughter. But love doesn't mean letting someone destroy you. Love doesn't mean enabling someone's worst behaviors. Love doesn't mean sacrificing yourself on the altar of someone else's mistakes. I haven't responded to the letter. I don't know if I will. Maybe someday, years from now, when she's proven that she's changed, when she's taken real responsibility, when she's become someone I can trust. Maybe then we'll have a relationship again. Or maybe we won't. Maybe some betrayals are too deep, some wounds too painful to heal. I don't know yet. I'm taking it one day at a time. What I do know is this. I did the right thing. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. It broke my heart into pieces, but it was right. Because sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is let them face the consequences of their actions. Sometimes protecting someone from accountability isn't love, it's enabling. It's harm disguised as care. I spent 24 years protecting Gracie from the world, and in doing so, I protected her from growing up, from taking responsibility, from learning that actions have consequences. I can't protect her anymore. Not from this. Not from herself. She has to learn these lessons on her own now. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be painful.
for both of us. But maybe, just maybe, it's the only way she'll ever become the person she's capable of being. I'm sitting at my kitchen table right now, drinking coffee from the same mug I've had for 15 years, looking out at the same backyard I've looked at for 20 years. My life looks the same as it did 6 months ago, but everything has changed.
I'm not the same person I was when I opened that first credit card statement. I'm not the mother who would do anything, sacrifice anything, destroy myself if it meant protecting my child. I've learned that you can love someone completely and still say no to them. You can love someone with your whole heart and still let them fall. You can love someone unconditionally and still have boundaries. And sometimes, the most powerful form of love isn't rescuing someone from their mistakes. It's standing back and letting them save themselves. I don't know what happens next. I don't know if Gracie and I will ever repair our relationship. I don't know if she'll ever really understand why I did what I did, or if she'll spend the rest of her life resenting me for it. But I know I can sleep at night now. I know I can look at myself in the mirror. I know I did what I had to do, not just for me, but for her too.
But this is hard, because real love isn't always soft. Sometimes it's the hardest thing in the world. Sometimes it requires letting go, setting boundaries, and saying no more. And as much as it hurts, as much as it cost me, I wouldn't change it, because I'm free now. Free from the debt, yes, but more than that, free from the weight of enabling her, of being complicit in my own destruction, of teaching my daughter that there are no real consequences for hurting the people who love you most. That's worth everything, even if it cost me my daughter. I just hope that someday she'll understand that too.